Now, for more on how China and the US are connecting with each other through tourism, I'm joined by David Becker, live from New York. He's CEO of Attract China. Welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Now, let's start with a look at some of the key benefits of really promoting and increasing travel between China and the US.
I'm sorry, the question?
Sure. What are some of the key benefits of promoting and increasing travel between China and the United States?
Well, certainly travel brings us together, and it also creates business and educational opportunities. And one way, it's a great way to reduce the deficit.
Now, what are you seeing in terms of some of the trends in terms of travel between these two countries?
Well, I think one of the big trends that we're seeing is a move away from the classic tour operator to and people coming in tour buses to what's known in the market as the free independent traveler. People who really are trying to explore and find their own way through the United States. So New York is certainly a great place to go. LA, you just were describing having a unique experience in New Orleans.
Now, one of the things that people were worried about was the impact of the so-called Trump slump following the president's travel ban. What do you see as the short and long-term impact of this?
The slump is real, and it's really being defined, and Brand USA did a great survey on this, whether people are considering or reconsidering their travel to the United States. And Mexico is very much in the forefront of deciding not to go, and we're talking about Mexicans looking at travel to the United States. There is one country, however, where the Trump administration and people like Ivanka Trump have actually increased their interest in visiting the United States, and that's China. So that's out of 10 countries that were surveyed by Brand USA, China was the one that said they're more interested in coming to the United States than they were before.
Now, let's also look at where Chinese visitors primarily like to go in the US. Is it a specific group of cities and states, or are there some new trends emerging?
Well, there's a couple of different ways of looking at that. Yes, there are certainly the big cities that people like to go to, but because of things like the quality of air in certain parts of China, people are now coming to the United States to see blue skies, to, as one person said, clean their lungs. And then you have shows like Westworld, which have really increased interest in visiting places like Utah.
Now, obviously, travel encompasses a range of things. It's experiences, it can be shopping, sightseeing, etc. What are Chinese visitors spending their money on?
Well, they certainly are always going to come here to shop. And one of the things that we did some analysis recently, versus going to London or Paris, it's still cheaper to come to New York, for example, and shop a Tanzanite suitcase or a Michael Kors handbag. But what we're finding now is that people are really looking for an experience that they can talk about with family and friends. And so that's not seeing 9 cities in 8 days. It's really about doing something unique.
And what could potentially be a challenge to that growth in Chinese visiting?
Well, that's interesting. It's a good question. And I think part of it is many people in the industry are very used to dealing with sort of large groups of people and tour operators. And now they have to start to think, well, what would appeal to somebody who's coming to the United States for the first time? What's the experience that we can create for them, which will be unique?
And we also have a very strong US dollar. How does that factor into where Chinese visitors choose to go?
It is an issue, and I was concerned about that, and we all are here, I think. You know, the dollar versus the euro, for example. And when we ran the numbers, we really found that the United States, especially, you know, if you look outside some of the major metros, is quite the bargain. And if you're going to Philadelphia, for example, you can stop at King of Prussia Mall. I mean, there are many places, Woodbury Commons north of New York City here, where you can do incredible shopping at deep discounts to whatever you would buy in China.
Now, Chinese visitors do tend to spend a lot. We're looking at billions of dollars when they visit. So how are other countries really trying to lure more Chinese tourists, and what are they doing to make those destinations more attractive?
Well, I mean, you've seen the stories of bringing Chinese police into Paris and into Rome to give people that comfort. I think we're talking about literally a handful to do that. But part of it is creating itineraries. For many Chinese, this is maybe the first time they're traveling outside the country. Sometimes they may be doing more than that. But they really need to have a plan of where to go and what to see. And it may be something that is, minute by minute. In some cases, it might be more of a broad plan. But they really need an itinerary to go out and explore and feel comfortable in their world. One of the things we do at our company is we actually provide a bilingual guide map, which is used as a bridge between concierges and front desk staff and Chinese tourists who may not have language skills yet to really communicate effectively in a new country.
Well, certainly a lot of options you've given us there. Our thanks to David Becker, CEO of Attract China.